Hello, BookTube. Welcome back to the History Shelf. My name is Peg, and I am your fearless host on this channel. And today, it is time to check back in with the good folks over at Casemate Publishing to see the wealth of new military history titles that are out there right now. And I've got two piles, so this could be a two-part video. I might skip a few summaries just so that maybe I can move through the two stacks quicker. But yeah, it's been a couple of months since the last Casemate book haul, so I wanted to show you what has been rolling off the presses since then. And Casemate is a publishing group, and they print a bunch of different imprints like Pen and Sword, I think Frontline, and they have their own imprint, Casemate. We also have Green Hill books. Yeah, so a lot of those. Let's see. I'm missing another one, but you've seen on this channel, you know which imprints are which. Well, let's just jump right in. And yes, I am still wearing my Lions hat. Played fairly well on Sunday. Lost a heartbreaker in overtime. I think we could have pulled it out if we had won the coin toss, but that's just my take. Hey, it happens, and I know that we are still on upward trend. Love this team. Let's get into the military history. That's why you're here. Okay, first book, brand new release from Pen and Sword. This is Churchill in Africa, Empire, Decolonization, and Race by C. Brad Fought. C. Brad Fought. C. Brad Run. Sorry. Okay. So this is an interesting little book here, and we've got really some photos I've never seen before in here, which I thought were pretty darn cool. There's our guy, Winston. Um, small volume, it's a little under 200 pages. But it says here, this concise, that's why it's short, this concise book fills a lacuna in the extensive literature on Churchill's life and times. It covers his long relationship with Africa during the most important period of Anglo-African history, from 19th century imperial rule to independence and the emergence of modern Africa. Churchill first went to Africa during the British reconquest of the Sudan in 1898 and would spend almost the next 60 years engaging with Africa as soldier, journalist, government minister, and finally prime minister. Churchill's story is one of transition from the height of late Victorian British imperialism to the acceptance of African nationalism in the middle years of the 20th century. He helped to shape British colonial policy in Africa from the first decade of the 20th century through the Second World War and colonial Kenya's Mau Mau crisis of the 1950s. Few British leaders were as closely involved with Africa as was Churchill. Okay. I seem to be missing the premise. I guess it's just an overview of what. Okay. We'll see. We'll see how, I was just wondering what kind of argument was being made here. But I think it might just be, again, it just says a concise history, filling a lacuna in his life and time. So I'm interested, though, to see what this has to say. It'll be a fairly quick read. So Churchill in Africa, Empire, Decolonization, and Race by C. Brad Fought. Published by Pen and Sword. This looks like an interesting book. This is a Casemate title. This is called Derrick's Bridgehead, the 597th Field Artillery Battalion, 92nd Division, and the Leadership Legacy of Colonel Wendell T. Derricks. And this is by Lieutenant Colonel Major Clark. So this looks like a very important piece of military history, because we just don't see enough of this type of coverage of African Americans in the military. And I've never heard of Derrick's or this Bridgehead scenario, so let's read more about it. I should say it's edited by Vivian Clark Adams and Winona Clark. So it says here, oh, I've got a pop sheet, so I can hold this up for you and you can look at this nice cover without the glare. There's going to be a glare, and I apologize for that. Oh, here we go. The 597th Field Artillery Battalion, 92nd Division, was the first, last, and only all-black officered direct support field artillery battalion committed to combat in the history of the U.S. Army. I'm going to obsess over that. It was the first all-black unit in a combat division, and together with the 600th Field Artillery Battalion, constituted the only all-black units in any combat division. Alongside impressive achievements on the battlefield in Italy in 1944 to 45, the unit provided more key command and staff positions exclusively for black field artillery officers than any other U.S. Army unit in combat, giving combat training and experience to more senior black field artillery officers than any of the other 16 black field artillery battalions during World War II. And Colonel Wendell Derricks worked to shelter his troops from the worst of the racism exhibited during the war. And due to his ability to envision an integrated post-war army, he provided unique leadership opportunities for his senior officers. The alumni of the 597th Field Artillery Battalion have an impressive record of success. Many of them were inducted into the Field Artillery Hall of Fame. Some served at the Pentagon, including Lieutenant Colonel Clark, and others forged successful careers in the civilian world. So this is going to be great. In fact, just reading this press release here, the pub sheet, I'm reading so many books lately. It's just like kind of like an assembly line of books, but something stuck in my mind from a recent book I read on World War II. Or was it World War I? Well, this is about World War II, but it did talk about the combat. It was World War II. It was a book on World War II, guys. I know it. And it talked about the 92nd Division. It may not have spoken directly about the 597th Field Artillery Battalion, but it did talk about the soldiers, the black soldiers and officers in the 92nd Division, and how they were really deep in some combat overseas. So this is going to fill in a lot of gaps for me as far as I enjoy like battalion and regimental histories as well. Call me kooky. But hey, I was in the military. I'm just always going to be interested in the military's history, all branches, all places and times. The integration, or yeah, making the integrated army that was a key moment that I think going back to the Civil War, with the African American people who were either free or they had recently been freed through the Emancipation Proclamation, or just the Union troops coming into the South and releasing these people from their bondage, and they wanted to fight. And so even from the beginning, it's like that was the first step towards really saying we are citizens of this country, and give us the rights and respect due to citizens. And so important stuff here. This is important history, and I love seeing books like this because it's like this is part of our story, but it's so rarely told. So I'm excited for Derrick's Bridgehead by Lieutenant Colonel Major Clark. Don't have a picture of the author, but anyway, I'm really excited. This is by Casemate Books. You can see the little red logo down at the bottom. Check that out. I will try to, if I remember, I'll put Casemate's website down below, but you can also search for their books on Amazon. You might find a better discount there. So, what else? So many things, and then we'll go over to like some women's history in the military. This is a new release, which just sounds really good. I've also been interested in just like combat medicine and combat triage, and just I read a book recently, a memoir of a Vietnam vet. It's called Exit Wounds, and he was a medic over in Vietnam. So just learning how people treated horrific wounds and diseases and stuff on the battlefield and off the battlefield has always been interesting to me. And then especially when women come into the story, and and our, you know, nurses and medics and everything else. And this is a new book called For the Boys, The True Account of a Combat Nurse in Patton's Third Army. Now, this is the uncorrected proof, but I think I have a finished one coming my way. And this is by N.C.R. Davis. It's put out by Casemate. This is coming out this month. Let me see. Comes out September 30th. So at the end of this month, For the Boys, The True Account of a Combat Nurse in Patton's Third Army will come out. The description says here, the biography of a young nurse from Minnesota who decides to join the war effort behind her father's back. Uh-oh. She finds herself holed up, treating the critically wounded from the Battle of the Bulge. In December 1944, she blatantly defies discriminatory army rules to save the lives of her patients. Wow. The book mixes, okay, so the woman's name is, well, she was Lieutenant Mary Elizabeth Balster. Oh, wow. Okay, let me read you a little bit. This is very dramatic on the pub sheet. And it gives you a sense of what we're going to probably expect in the book. A month after her 24th birthday, Lieutenant Mary Elizabeth Balster collapses among the rubble of a shelled supply room. Has the young nurse finally succumbed to the mounting emotional toll caused from months of caring for the sick and wounded just behind the front lines of General Patton's Third Army? On the night of November 30th, 1944, holed up in the Heinrich Himmler barracks in Morhagne, France, Lieutenant Balster's evac receives a typical patient load, over 200 soldiers, including wounded enemy. But this time, one of the admissions is a 19-year-old tanker she'd nursed back to health 5 months before in Normandy. The charge nurse on surgical gently informs the lieutenant that the private is critical, admitted with 2 gunshot wounds and almost half his body consumed by burns. Rising, determined to save him, Balster limps toward the shelled supply room, determined to search for any blood plasma bottles still intact after Luftwaffe strafing. Oh. Recaptured from her mother's reminiscences and letters home, N.C.R. Davis takes the reader through every heat of battle, harrowing moment as Balster lived it, achieving a rare glimpse of one nurse's point of view during the latter part of the European conflict. Oh. Well, this sounds fantastic. So she's writing about her mother, N.C.R. Davis. Oh, and then this is a pseudonym. It says here about the author. She under a pseudonym she writes about the impact of technology on culture, currency, and politics in the Western world. And all right, so For the Boys tells the story about Lieutenant Balster's time as a medic, as a nurse. Wow, great stuff from Casemate. So again, that's coming out September 30th. Keep that on your radar. Oh, now this book is so up my alley, and it's a really in-depth study. And this is from, the imprint is Frontline Books. I like Frontline's books. Oh, and there's some great photos in the center. Okay, this bad boy is The Birth of the Soviet Secret Police. Lenin and History's Greatest Heist, 1917 and 1927 by Boris Volodarsky. It's a new history of the KGB. And it's a nice big thick book by Frontline Books. Wonderful archival photos that I love. That's the Okhrana in St. Petersburg, the directorate. You know me and my Russian history and Soviet history. It's incredible. This is going to be amazing. Okay, so what do we have here? I wonder if this is a a new edition of it. No. Okay, it says here. This book is new in every aspect, and not only because neither the official history nor an unofficial history of the KGB and its many predecessors and successors exists in any language. In this volume, the author deals with the origins of the KGB from the Tsarist Okhrana, which was the first Russian's secret political police, to the OGPU, Joint State Political Directorate, one of the KGB predecessors between 1923 and 1934. Based on documents from the Russian archives, the author clearly demonstrates that the Cheka and OGPU were initially created to defend the revolution and not for espionage. So he goes into the Okhrana. This is a very long description. I don't have time to read all of these things, but wow, it's pretty in depth here. He goes into the Okhrana, and then in the book, the work of the Cheka and its successors against the enemies of the revolution is paralleled with British and American operations against the Soviets inside and outside of Russia. For the first time, the creation of the Communist International, also known as the Comintern, is shown as an alternative Soviet espionage organization for wide-scale foreign propaganda and subversion operations based on the new revelations from the Soviet archives. All right. So a brand new history on the Soviet secret police, the birth of it, how it all came about. So go right on my shelf with my other like Soviet Union, Cold War, espionage, KGB stuff. So I'm always up for reading one of these books. It's just fantastic. So that's out now. You can get that now. What else do we have here? This is a very beautiful book. This is from Green Hill Books. And this is very heavily illustrated, massive color photography. So, you know, this one, it will be definitely more of like a gift book if you're looking to get something special for that, maybe that World War II aficionado in your life, because you can even take the dust jacket off and it's a beautiful bound book. It even has a red ribbon marker. Look at this. This is Rommel's Africa Corps in color. Rare German Photographs from the Second World War by Ian Spring and Anthony Tucker Jones. Beautiful book. Green Hill Books. Again, look at this beautiful red ribbon. I mean, it's just, there's not a lot of text in this one, guys. It's definitely everything that it's about. It says in color. Rommel's Africa Corps in color. I have not seen many, well, most of these. So, you know, it gives you a brief synopsis on some of the aircraft, probably the tanks. Oh, this is beautiful. Wow. There's a section on this guy's eating a bratwurst, rest and recreation. Oh my god. It's like, what is he eating right here? I don't know. Whoa! I don't know what's going on. Ah! In this picture. Okay, there's a shot of a Panzer at like dawn or sunset, or I don't even know what's going on here. Let's see here. Sunset. So a beautiful book, a beautiful edition. You get a little bit more text in the beginning pages for like an introduction. But look at this. This is a keeper. So if you have someone on your list, maybe this is something you can look at for holidays. This is definitely like a coffee table type of book, but it's gorgeous. So highly recommend you check out Rommel's Africa Corps in color from Green Hill Books. 18 minutes. Let's surge through here. Then we have a very slim volume in a series that I have a couple of others in, where they have translated the work. It's from the Die Wehrmacht im Kampf, so I guess the Wehrmacht, the German army in combat. This is Retreat Through the Rhone Valley, Defensive Battles of the 19th Army, August to September of 1944 by Jörg Steger, translated by Lyndon Lyons. It's a very slim volume. This is from the Casemate line, as you can see. This is the first English translation of the best German account of the German retreat following the Allied Dragoon landings. Now, I've never heard of the Allied Dragoon landings. It says the Dragoon offensive in August 1944 was preceded by bombings and sabotage that hit hard the German forces located in the south of France, damaging communications, railroads, and bridges. The landings were then overwhelmingly successful despite localized German resistance. This account by Georg Steger recounts the German retreat and explains how the 19th Army sacrificed divisions to enable its retreat through the Rhone Valley. So, a very slim little tactical study. It's not even 90 pages, but definitely goes through, along with the series, which I have the Wehrmacht in Kampf. The Wehrmacht in Kampf. I think I have one of these. I think that I have the Normandy one, but I think they have more. I have others in this series. So, this is out right now. Oh, what do we have here? This is another Casemate release. This is War in the Far East, Storm Clouds Over the Pacific, 1931 to 1941 by Peter Harmsen. Ooh, that was a real big glare. Soft cover. And this is volume 1, so there's going to be... Wait a minute, I think, okay. Whoops, I think I have this in hardcover. So this is a, yes, they look different in the hardcover. So the thing with Casemate books, just so you guys know, they initially come out in hardcover. Some of them, most of them do, I think. But they will have books that will be re-released in a softcover version, and those are far more affordable. So yes, the hardback came out in December of 2018. I was looking at the cover sheet here, and it had a very different cover. So I have both volumes, I think, in the series in hardcover. But so this is good to know. Let me double check on that, and if I do have it, then we might have a giveaway if anyone's interested in this. But this is the paperback or the softcover release, and it begins the story long before Pearl Harbor, showing how the war can only be understood if ancient hatreds and long-standing geopolitics are taken into account. Peter Harmsen demonstrates how Japan and China's ancient enmity grew in the late 19th century and early 20th centuries, leading to increased tensions in the 1930s, which exploded into conflict in 1937. The battles of Shanghai and Nanjing were followed by the Battle of Taizhuang in 1938, China's only major victory. A war of attrition continued up to 1941, the year when Japan made the momentous decision for all-out war. The infamous attack on Pearl Harbor catapulted the U.S. into the war, and the Japanese also overran British and Dutch British and Dutch territories throughout the Western Pacific. Okay, so yeah, that is a re-release. So it's volume 1. And I'm guessing we're going to see volume 2 in a paperback edition. So maybe I'll get both, and maybe we can do a raffle, a giveaway. We'll just have do a random selection. We'll see if I get volume 2. That might make it worthwhile to anyone who's interested. So that is out in paperback now. 23 minutes, guys. Let's move over to this other stack. Okay. These came in fairly recently. Very excited. I don't know if it's a new series or I think it's been going on for a little bit now. Casemate Illustrated, where they have these beautiful French flaps. And we start off with this fantastic book on the Revolutionary War, the Philadelphia Campaign, 1777, by Michael C. Harris. I'm just holding it at an angle so we don't get the glare so much, but okay, there's one. So again, it has beautiful French flaps. Lots of photos, artwork. You could read this in a couple of sittings. but it's illustrated. Casemate illustrated the Philadelphia campaign. Let me see here. Well, there's a lot in here, and I'm running out of time. Let's see. It's detailed, fully illustrated account of the Philadelphia campaign that went from 1777 to 78. Okay, so the British Army in North America conducted two campaigns in 1777. John Burgoyne led one army south from Canada to seize control of the Lake Champlain Hudson River corridor, resulting in the Battle of Saratoga. I only did that because I'm reading H.W. Brand's book right now, and recently read about how Benedict Arnold just was outstanding in the Battle of Saratoga. Burgoyne's defeat led to that army's capture. Rather than assist Burgoyne's campaign, William Howe led his army from New York City on the Philadelphia campaign. Although Howe captured Philadelphia, in the events of 1777 led to the French alliance and ultimately American victory in the American Revolution. So, ooh, look at this. Whose house is this? British headquarters during Germantown. So, actual photograph. Oh, this is so cool. I wish I could visit some of these places. They gotta be so haunted. Fantastic. I'm so excited to read this in conjunction with what I'm reading right now. So thank you, Casemate. The next one that I got is Civil War. The Casemate Illustrated on the Maryland campaign. So I'm super psyched. This is Casemate Illustrated, the Civil War, Such a Clash of Arms, the Maryland campaign, September 1862 by Kevin Pollack. And slim volumes again, but they're very beautiful. And I've got a pub sheet too. Nice thick photo on the front. Beautiful. They're wonderfully designed and laid out. Glossy paper, high quality. Gives you a sense of that. It's a fully illustrated narrative, basically, of the Maryland campaign, culminating in Antietam, the bloodiest single day in American military history. If I could spit it out. So that is perfect. You know, this is a nice little handy-dandy reference if you just want to get a broad overview of that battle with fantastic, stunning images. Just amazing. I'm always so impressed with the books and the new designing that Casemate is doing on a lot of their previous series, and this is one of them, and it looks fantastic. So, Peg approved. Okay, let's move on to a couple of others here. This looks so juicy and delicious and a guilty pleasure. This is In the Mind of Stalin by James Greensmith. As if anyone could or would want to be in the mind of Stalin. This is put out by Pen and Sword. Look at that back cover. Oi! Prism. On October 1st, 1939, Winston Churchill, First Lord of the Admiralty and soon to be the UK's wartime leader, described Russia as a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. The same can certainly be said of Stalin. How can this paradox of a man who, on the one hand, had once exhibited great tenderness and kindness to his daughter Svetlana, and on the other sent millions, including members of his own family, to their deaths, be explained? It is impossible to quantify the total number of deaths attributable to the policies of Stalin, but the excess mortality, and that was in quotes, excess mortality, i.e., deaths over and above what would normally have been expected during the period in question, gives an approximate figure in excess of 40 million. However, this is only part of the story of the amount of misery inflicted by the Stalin regime through torture, deliberate starvation, neglect, separation from loved ones, cold and hypothermia, such as in the prisons in Siberia, which is unquantifiable and unimaginable. Svetlana confessed that she would never undertake to explain what motivated all my, and this isn't a quote, what motivated all my father's actions, simply because I do not possess the psychological genius of Dostoevsky, who knew how to, quote, penetrate into another man's soul and examine it from within. Right. Well, this is intriguing. This is a, who's our author here? I don't have a pup sheet in this one. James Greensmith. Okay, well, it's one man's take. It says here, as an author who is fascinated by the workings of the human mind, I will attempt in this narrative to unravel the enigma that was Stalin and to discover what made this man of steel tick. Well, we'll see. We'll see if he can, if he makes a convincing case. But then the cover just really grabbed me, and I was like, I'd like to check it out. So this is In the Mind of Stalin from Pen and Sword. Oh, and oh, let me throw this in. We're going to change things up. And we're going to go back to Rome, ancient Rome, because wow, was I excited to see this book come out from Casemate. This is Before Augustus, The Collapse of the Roman Republic by Natalie Barca. Really nice, nice jacket cover. Put out by Casemate Books. Um, it says here, Before Augustus focuses on the political and military history of the tumultuous period of 60 to 27 BC. It provides a thorough account of significant events and analyzes epic battles. Let's see here. Okay, so it says Natalie Barca examines the whole cast of individuals involved in the decline of the Republic, setting the protagonists within the complex societal and political system that they manipulated to their own ends. From riots in the Forum through campaigning in provinces stretching from North Africa to Britannia, to the pivotal events of the crossing of the Rubicon and the assassination of Caesar, Before Augustus offers a readable, vivid summary of the transition from republic to empire in ancient Rome. So, just another winsome title for us ancient Rome and ancient history lovers out there. I have not heard of this author, so it could be a first book. I'm not sure. Mhm. Sorry, I apologize. It is a he. I pronounced it Natalie, and it's probably not. It's Natal, and it is a gentleman. He's the author of 15 monographs, mainly focused on the political and military history of the Roman late republic. So Natal Barca, and he's a visiting researcher at University of California, Berkeley, and an academic visitor at the University of London's Institute of Classical Studies. Wow. Okay, so I am looking forward to adding this to my shelf of other ancient Roman studies, especially biographies on Augustus. Although this is before Augustus, but still kind of leads in. So I was super stoked to get an ancient history title from Casemate. Um, okay, so now we're going to fast forward a bit to back to World War II. This looks interesting, and it has a foreword by Roger Morehouse, who wrote a fantastic couple of histories. But the most recent one I read was the one on the Polish invasion. Sorry, the invasion of Poland by Hitler and the Nazis. So he writes a foreword to this book, which looks really intriguing. This is the Reichstag Fire. The Case Against the Nazi Conspiracy by Sven Felix Kellerhoff. So yeah, this takes a very contrary view as to what's been going on recently in history, where people just accept the fact that it was a conspiracy, that Hitler set it on fire. So he's going to be making the opposite case. This is from Greenhill Books, I should say. It says here, when the German Reichstag went up in flames on the evening of February 27, 1933, Hitler used the incident to seize power, claiming it was the work of communists planning a violent uprising. But who really started the fire? Were the Nazis to blame, or was it the work of lone arsonist Marinus van der Lubbe? This debate has been raging for more than 80 years. The Reichstag fire seeks to shed light on this pivotal event that changed the course of world history. Through a thorough analysis of original source material, award-winning journalist Kellerhoff charts the outbreak of the fire, the Reich Cabinet's response to the event, and van der Lubbe's repeated confession to the crime, and the far-reaching consequences of the fire. Oh God, there's a lot of horrible Pictures in here, so interesting, eh? And here's Mr. Vanderloob. Wow, couldn't put a shirt on for that photograph, right? Was it? Oh, that was when he was arrested. I'm sorry, he's probably sleeping. Mr. Vanderloob, what is up? Oh boy, got like the trial stuff. Okay, so this sounds like an interesting read, and it's like 180 pages. Actually, minus the notes, it's 144. So the Reichstag Fire from Greenhill Books, putting out some interesting stuff lately. 35 minutes. Let's move on. We're going to go to Afghanistan now. And this is a book from Pen and Sword. And this is The Pashtoon Tribes in Afghanistan by Ben Acheson. There you go. The abrupt withdrawal of U.S. and NATO forces in 2021 ushered in a new era for Afghanistan. The subsequent Taliban takeover facilitated a reversion to some of the worst hallmarks of Afghanistan's past, including bans on women's education and other rights-related rollbacks. Navigating this new reality necessitates that more constructive relationships are built between Westerners and Afghans, particularly with the majority ethnicity, the Pashtun tribes. The Pashtun tribes in Afghanistan. Okay, so the name of this book, they didn't use punctuation so I could tell what they were saying. The Pashtun tribes in Afghanistan, is the toolkit for doing so. It provides the knowledge needed to navigate a complex tribal environment. Framed by first-hand experience and balancing in-depth analysis with engaging anecdotes, it sheds light on the Pashtun way of life, still enshrined in the ancient Pashtunwali honor code. It explains the tribal structure, tribal territories, historic battles, prominent figures, and even Pashtun proverbs and poets. It also highlights how recent wars are destroying the tribal arena. Focusing on people rather than politics, this book unveils the layers, paradoxes, and subtleties of the world's largest tribal society. Isn't that fascinating? This book illuminates, I'm jumping ahead a little bit in the description. This book illuminates why, from Alexander the Great to Winston Churchill, and even with the Taliban today, Pashtuns are negatively still stereotyped as primitive, violence-prone barbarians. But why did men like Rudyard Kipling characterize tribesmen as being, quote, as unaccountable as the gray wolf, who is his blood brother, end quote. This book has the answer. That's fascinating. I think Ben Acheson is very highly placed for this. He was director of the Office of NATO Senior Civilian Representative. He's been a European Union rep. Or a political advisor to the European Union rep. Wow. It's really interesting. He really breaks down the tribal structure. So this definitely goes into deep detail. Fascinating, though. I've heard a lot about the Pashtuns and just what epic warriors they are. So, I'm excited to dip into this one from Pen and Sword Books, and it's here now for your reading pleasure. Now we're gonna get into a couple of other books. Okay, I don't know. Okay, let's. I'm gonna read this. I'm not gonna read. I'm gonna read this to you. This is a Casemate release. This is The First Bridge Too Far: The Battle of Primasole Bridge, 1943, by Mark Saliger. Primasole Bridge in Sicily, 1943, provided the stage for the first instance of opposing elite paratroopers parachuting into battle and then fighting each other in a seesaw battle raging under the blazing Mediterranean sky. It's a story of courage and determination, a story of legendary military units and their commanders. a story that now, on the eve of its 75th anniversary, which was back in July, finally needs to be told. This is about the British paratroopers of the famed Parachute Regiment's 1st Parachute Brigade, known as the Red Devils. Then how they fought their equally esteemed German paratrooper opponents known as the Green Devils in a battle of attrition central to the entire success of the Allies' first invasion of Hitler's fortress Europe. Wow. These two sets of elite devils fought each other to a standstill in hellish conditions. The paratroopers found themselves cut off behind enemy lines with dwindling ammunition and ever-growing enemy forces encircling. Their courage and determination, standing up to overwhelming odds, allowed the ground forces to arrive and capture the bridge in the nick of time before it was destroyed. The hard-won experience gained by the 1st Parachute Brigade was again tested only a year later at the Battle of Arnhem. The battle christened A Bridge Too Far, and that's where you get this is the first bridge too far. Okay, get it. And so it was in fact an almost identical battle, but on a larger scale. Okay. It says the Battle of Arnhem is well documented, but the Battle of Primsol Bridge, which provided the foundations for the men and planning for the legendary events at Arnhem, is virtually unheard of and needs to be told to honor the sacrifice of Britain's unsung war heroes. So, this is out as of, it just published actually on September 15th, so Friday. This is available in softcover. It's affordable. The Red Devils versus the Green Devils. Fascinating. Have not heard of Primsol Bridge in Sicily, so good stuff there. Then we have another book from Casemate. And this is something that came out, a slim little volume. This came out last month. This is Undercurrent, Tank Commander Cadet in the Yom Kippur War by Amir Bega. It says here. I'll read from the back because it's brief. It's briefer. The confidence and complacency of the Israeli army after the swift victory in the Six-Day War led to the disaster of the Yom Kippur War that rocked the foundations of Israel. Amir Bega was a naive 19-year-old Israel Defense Forces tank commander cadet when his battalion was thrown into this unexpected war, sent to stop the Egyptian army's advances toward Israel. As the war progresses, he deals with the horrific losses of both those around him and his own innocence. After his battalion is annihilated in one of the first contacts, he is transferred into a reserve unit. He will survive physically unscathed as tank after tank is destroyed or damaged. His vivid memoir recounts the whirlwind of nonstop battles of survival from the first day of the war to the very last, and gives an insight into the heavy toll of the war and its impact on the people of Israel. And you know I love a good war memoir, and this is really different, and I kind of just... I like reading different memoirs from different types of armies, different countries, and just knowing what their experiences were, different wars. So another memoir, military memoir to add to my reading pile. And that one came out just last month. Let's see what else we got going on here. Oh, I forgot to show you this other one. In the Casemate Illustrated series. Right? I showed you these two. Okay, so this one's really fun. This is from World War II, and this is Military Dogs of World War II by Susan Belanda. Look at that. This is going to be a great read, although hopefully it won't be too tragic. It probably will be. There's my pub sheet. Oh, the pictures and the puppies and the doggies getting medals. Look at these guys. Loving their German Shepherd in the trenches. Oh. Look at these guys. Men could sleep easy knowing that their dogs were with them. Look at them sleeping. Mascots. Jack the Doberman. Oh my goodness. These are great photographs. I mean, look at these. Look at these guys in training. They're having fun. We love it. We love working. Yeah, so it's all about the military dogs of World War II. Um, and it covers all the issues of canines in World War II, from carrying messages, searching for injured personnel, detecting mines, transporting supplies, sentry duty, and more. Explores how the training of dogs was developed, especially in the US, and tells the stories of some of the individual dogs that served, including the British animals that were awarded the Dickon Medal. So this is just fantastic. If you're an animal lover, dog lover, and yeah, police forces and other law enforcement agencies, obviously canine units, employ these animals, for the help and protection that they provide, and the just the guarding and alerting them to danger. So this is just a great piece of history right here. Okay, I might save a couple for next time. I think I might have actually done this one. But let's another Civil War book that I was really stoked to pick up, and this is from Brookline Books. I don't know if this was from. Yes, it is from Casemate. Okay, this is a very short biography of Charlie. Charlie, the true story. Let me read this. The true story of the youngest soldier to die in the American Civil War. Oh, God. Um. Oh, this is from another publicist. That's why. Thank you, Lauren. Okay. She sent me the Augustus book as well as this one. So, Lauren, over at Casemate, thank you. Try to find the pub feet for Charlie. In early April, and again, this is a very short book, about 160 pages. I'll hold that up. In early April 1861, the streets of Westchester, Pennsylvania, echoed with the sound of rattling snare drum. A rattling snare drum. The orders it marked out could be heard for blocks around: about face, advance, retreat, company rest, but there were no troops in the city to hear it. The Civil War, though it loomed heavy on the minds of everyone in the nation, had not yet begun. Fort Sumter would remain in Union hands for another 2 weeks, and the secession crisis in the South was yet still only a war of words. But on the 100 block of Barnard Street, the children had already mustered. The children were already marching, and Charlie King, a boy of only 11, was leading them. In a matter of days, the war would start in earnest. In just a few months, Charlie would march with the 49th Pennsylvania Infantry into the heat of battle. And in just under a year and a half, he would become the youngest enlisted soldier to die in the American Civil War. So what? I mean, he died when he was 12, almost 13. Jeez. Charlie marched with Company F, tapping out the cadence and relaying orders as they fought in the ill-fated Peninsula Campaign. Traveled in the long slog through Maryland during Robert E. Lee's first invasion of the North, and faced down enemy artillery in the woods north of Sharpsburg at Antietam Creek. That battle remains the bloodiest day in American history. Charlie and 22,000 other Americans were killed or wounded that day. It just boggles the mind. I mean, what did that field, or what did that even look like? Oh, wow. Charlie's final resting place is unknown, but he is memorialized in Westchester at Greenmount Cemetery, where his mother and father are buried. Using a wide range of sources, this unique history reconstructs Charlie's short life and the tragedy of his claim as the youngest soldier to die in the American Civil War. Okay, and that is by Brendan Lyons, who grew up in Westchester, just north of Westchester. So, nice little local history here. Uh, and the author, Lyons, took up the cause of funding and building a monument to Charlie, which now stands in Greenmount Cemetery. Well, good on you, sir. That is fantastic. This just looks like a very, I don't want to say a fun read at all. I mean, obviously he was a young boy that died, but in war, but it looks like it's going to be very engaging, like local regional history, um, and regimental history probably. So, yeah, 49th Pennsylvania Infantry. Yeah, there's another picture. Young lad. I'm sure there were many more. So, and that is, I think this is out. Yes, this came out in July. So these are all new books, fresh on the market. I think I'm going to close here at the 50-minute mark, but I wanted to get all these books in because I haven't been able. I've been so busy, and I know it's like the constant refrain here. I'm sorry. I keep bemoaning that fact, and I'm not trying to bemoan. I'm just like, gosh, I want to do more for you guys. I want to have more videos coming up. I'm hoping by the end of October, I can really settle in and make some more videos and focus on getting more content up on the channel for you guys and getting to these books sooner. But a lot of these books are out now or are coming out this month, so keep an eye out. Let me know in the comments below what looks good to you. Thanks for joining in for another Casemate book haul installment. I hope you check out their website. Check out their books on Amazon too, and see, a lot of these paperbacks are definitely within people's budgets. So anyway, thanks for coming in back to view me. And this is making no sense. You know why? Because I need a drink, because I've been stumbling over my words, guys. Okay, so I hope to get another video up sooner rather than later. So stay tuned. Thanks for joining me here at the History Shelf, as always. Bye.